lurkers in your group are the kind of people that are actually your best customers, typically.
Always.
Are you an entrepreneur, consultant, content marketer, or business professional looking to take your knowledge and skills to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Content Marketing Lounge with your host, Nathan Collier.
Hey marketers, welcome to the Content Marketing Lounge podcast, episode 3. This one is called Colin Theriot Runs a Cult. And I have to tell you that I'm super excited about sharing this conversation with you. This is a conversation between me and Colin Theriot. Colin, if you don't know, is the founder and admin of the Cult of Copy. And look, it is not a stretch to say that the reason that the Content Marketing Lounge exists at all is because of what I learned from Colin. Colin was the first person that I found who was doing interesting things on Facebook. And I remember I was just completely blown away by what he was doing in the Cult of Copy. And I said to myself, this is a business model that I think I can do. And I think everything about what I do in the Content Marketing Lounge, I've made it my own at this point, but when I initially set it up, I definitely modeled it off a lot of what Colin was doing in his group. So I'm really excited to have him on the podcast, and I think you'll get a lot of value from the group. Real quick, if you are not yet a member of the Content Marketing Lounge, come join us. You can just search for us in Facebook, search for the Content Marketing Lounge, and you can join, and we'd be glad to have you. We are not the kind of group that is just full of links to people's blog articles. We are a discussion group, and as the admin, I take that very seriously. I want to create a place where you can have valuable conversations with people, and you can learn, and you're not constantly getting overwhelmed with links to other things. So there are lots of other places on the internet where you can go to find the latest and greatest content, but we try and keep the value in the feed there in the Facebook group. So that's what makes our group a little different. With that, let me share with you this conversation I had with Colin. I think you really should stick around, especially to the end. At the end, I'm going to sort of rapid fire some stuff at Colin, and I wrote down a long list of things that were like things I learned from Colin that turned out to be really important, and I just sort of read them off to Colin at the end, and he provided some of his insight and commentary on those. So I think you'll get a lot of value from that and from the whole thing. So here we go. Cool. Well, let me ask you this. So could you explain to me what is the Cult of Copy and how did it get started?
Sure. The Cult of Copy is I have a website for it, but it refers to the Facebook group. It was originally a Skype group, and then I turned it into a Facebook group. I can't remember if I ever called the Skype group the Cult of Copy, but I remember I was on vacation in Mexico with my wife, and it was raining, so we had to stay inside the hotel bar, and we were just drinking margaritas, and I was playing on I had a little netbook at the time, and I remember I have the post, I've saved the screenshot of it, and I'm talking to my Skype group, which at the time was just peers, basically, like other writers I knew, and then people I had worked for, just kind of like the clique of people in my industry that I knew, very under 100 people maybe. And then I said, hey guys, I should start a cult. And it was just a joke, but I remember I started thinking of the logo that day. And fast forward, it was almost 2 years before I opened the Facebook group. And what that was about was I was spending more time on Facebook than I thought appropriate for a person trying to be a freelancer on the hustle. Right. So I said, I need to do something to make this work, into work, so that I can justify the amount of time I'm spending. So basically, the function that other people, when they're trying to position themselves as an expert, where they get a blog, I did that, except inside of a Facebook group. Right. And I think it was just a matter of timing. No one else was doing it. There were Facebook groups, but a lot of people were doing it as this is the support group for a product you bought. Yeah. Which doesn't necessarily load the place up with the best conversationalists. And the whole benefit of a Facebook group is the constant discussion. Yeah. So instead, it was the same kind of people that I had conversations with all day, every day in Skype. Because at the time, Like this was in like 2012. So at the time, a lot of people had Skype groups for various things, and everyone hung out on Skype. This is before Microsoft bought it. And basically, if you weren't working on something, you were just on Skype chit-chatting with people.
It functioned a lot like Slack does today for a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. So I basically just moved those people over and like, hey, if you're on Facebook, I'm posting a bunch of stuff over here. And like it was growing into hundreds of people very quickly because I was doing a lot of talks at the time, and like I would guest on other people's podcasts and do mentoring calls. Like people had group coaching and they would do like a monthly call. Sometimes I would be a guest on those. And it was actually I can't remember who suggested it to me now. I'm gonna kick myself later, but one of my friends was basically like, you should buy the domain name for Cult of Copy, dummy. So I bought it and pointed it directly to the group.
Yeah.
And then whenever I would give a talk and you get to the part where you give your URL where people can find out more about you, I just aimed everybody from everything that I ever did to the group and said, just ask to join. You can join. That's where I'm at. We talk about copy all day.
Yeah.
And it just grew and grew and grew. And then at the time that I launched it is like, I always planned to grow an audience for myself and kind of do like the guru positioning thing, even from when I first went freelance, because I was only accidentally a copywriter. Like I was working at a company and the copywriter got sick and I volunteered and they gave me the job.
Right. Because you were like an art student, right?
Yeah, I went to art school. Like I have no business being a business person that
or
writes.
A copywriter.
Right, exactly. Like literally I went to school for the opposite of advertising. So I always wanted to segue from like I knew I was going to use copywriting as my expertise angle and then segue into selling products based on what I know. I always wanted to do that, and growing an audience was part of that. So right at the time that I launched the Facebook group, basically one of the pulls was I'm retiring from writing copy for clients, and I'm going to teach anybody in my group who wants to learn it my sales letter template that I've used to write these famous multi-million-dollar selling letters for my clients. So that was the draw, and also it set the group up as I'm going to sell you things, which is important. You can't grow a huge group and then try to sell them things because they get mad.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, like the reason it was created was just to advance my career plan, I guess, which is like, okay, now it's time to start packaging up everything you know about what you do and start turning your competitors into customers. And this is the place where that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's it. The whole cult angle thing, like it was really just like people kind of shied away from it. Like the whole persuasion is sneaky and kind of scary. Like everybody's like, oh, I don't manipulate people. I persuade people. So I swung it the other way and said, we're going to talk about the creepy stuff in here. No judgment, cult leaders, con artists, bad guys who do persuasive stuff, and we'll figure out what we can learn from them and use it for good.
Yeah. I think that when I joined your group, that was one of the things that really struck me was that you were the only one that I like you were like one of the, like you did a whole profile on the guy who sold the Eiffel Tower like 3 times.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. That was one of the first things I saw. I forget that guy's name, but it was like, wow, like there's a lot of stuff that's really, it's very much applicable for marketing that he was doing, like stuff that we could learn.
He was definitely an innovative criminal. I can't remember his name either now, but he's I remember what he did, and basically his idea was the Eiffel Tower was kind of like an eyesore, and it was built for a World's Fair that had ended, and Paris didn't know what to do with it. They all thought it was kind of ugly, so it was plausible that the government would want to get rid of it, but do it on the sly without people knowing until it was done.
Yeah.
So he said, "Hey, I'm an agent of the government, and I'm taking bids for scrap dealers who want to tear it down, and you give me your bid, but also I'm a public official, so throw a little bribe my way if you know what I'm saying, if you want it." And then he took a bunch of bribes from everybody and then just like took off.
Yeah. Victor Lustig.
That's
Lustig.
it.
Yeah.
Count Victor Lustig.
That's right.
Count of nothing. But so he absconded, and what was brilliant about that con to me was that no one went to the cops, because you would go to the cops and say, hey, that guy stole my illegal bribe to a government official.
Right.
So he went abroad in Europe, and then he ran out of money, and then he came back to Paris and did it again.
Yeah.
And that time, a guy who refused to give him the bribe, a guy who was so honest he wouldn't even play the game, went to the cops, and that's how he got caught.
Yeah.
But
yeah, very cool. You did that. And I remember you were talking about, you had one day you were in there talking about Stalin, because that's where the idea of cult of personality comes from. Is from, one of the world's great murderers.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's one of those things where I think, like, my philosophy behind persuasion is that first you have to admit that it's manipulation. You have to admit that it involves lying. Because to me, even if you think, no, I'm not, I'm just giving people the best case scenario, and I'm telling them this and I'm telling them that, like, the second you're engaging someone's emotions in a covert way without their consent to guide them to what you want them to do, to me, that's inherently dishonest. But I don't think lying is always bad. That's something parents tell kids to control them. But obviously they're like, that's what you want. You don't want a kid to lie to you, so you just tell them, like, it's bad. Never lie. It's terrible. Right? But then what about Santa Claus? That parents... I'm sorry to spoil that for anybody listening.
Yeah, sorry.
but okay, so, like, that's adults lying to kids, and they're like, oh, but it's, it's fun. Everybody I'm like, yeah, but, like, it's a lie, right? So what you're saying is lying is not always bad. So I say you gotta embrace it for what it really is if you want to get good at it, and you have to look at it objectively. And so once you accept that, and then you look at these con artists, and sure, they do terrible things, but, like, when it comes to con artistry, you're talking about guys that have no formal education, probably dropped out of school, but yet they can meet a complete stranger and convince that stranger to give them their life savings in, like, half a day.
Right.
Just by talking. Like if you don't think you can use that skill in business, that's absurd. Just because that guy uses it to steal doesn't mean he doesn't know things you can do. But people have that taboo where they're like, oh, I'm not learning from that guy. He's got bad intent. And I'm like, well, you don't have bad intent. You can do the same trick as him.
Yeah. So, it's like one of those, like, for good or for evil things. I remember I really struggled with this idea fairly early on when I switched from, because I was a journalist, right? And so journalism has this very sort of noble ethic to it, right? Like, ultimately, journalists, they see themselves as public servants. I mean, because that's really the function that they serve in a well-run society is they're in one part.
You're trying to use words to capture truth.
Exactly. And so I switched to marketing, and it's like the storytelling stuff comes over, and all of a sudden it's like, now I'm trying to do storytelling in order to bring people awareness of something that they need that maybe they didn't know,
Yeah, and, literally, like, it's I have a minor in journalism also, because when I was at the tail end of my junior year in college, I'm like, this art thing is not going to make any money.
And you've sort of married all those things up, haven't you?
Yeah. I tell people that I learned the art of bullshitting in art school because like, the way you get great, like, for anybody that wants to go to college and, like, make good grades but not have to try hard, think about an art major, because the way you get graded is you have an assignment and you paint a picture or whatever based on the assignment, and then everybody has the assignments on the easels, and then the class talks about each piece, and then you get a grade, but, like, you get to tell the story of the piece. So the better you are at telling the idea of the art, the better a grade you can get, because it doesn't like after postmodernism, what is actually on the canvas is meaningless. You know what I mean? Like, you could turn in a completely white canvas and tell a story about why that's important.
Yeah.
So I learned it there, and like towards the end of my tenure in college, I was turning in paintings I had done like the years previously for new assignments, and then just changing the story if it fit.
That's
and
awesome.
Like some other, like no one ever ratted me out, because like it's like most majors where like the number of people in it dwindle smaller and smaller as you go further in. And so by the end, there's like a dozen of us all in the same classes as senior level art students. And I know they knew I was turning in the same paintings, but no one ever ratted me out.
That's awesome. If I'd done that in my English program, I would have got kicked out. So don't try that in the English program, because there's all those, again, we have all those sort of ethical hang-ups when in those programs, because we don't do postmodern literary criticism.
Yeah, I mean, like one of my classmates' senior project was a jar containing all the hair she had taken out of her shower drain for the whole year.
That's horrendous.
And that got an A. So
because of the story, right?
Exactly. It was like, these are the parts of myself I leave behind when I get clean.
Oh man.
So it's like, okay, cool. Here's a drawing I made of a robot.
That's funny. I remember you were talking. You've talked a lot about like logical fallacies, especially in your group. And the thing that sealed this whole idea of the idea that persuasion is inherently manipulative for me was when I understood finally that like just so take like the most basic marketing piece ever, right? And it's a case study, right? So like a case study is like your vanilla, like everybody needs one, you know what I mean? Like,
here's somebody who used my product and here's the result that they got.
Right. And if you step back at that and you look at it from a persuasion perspective, what that is you're using the survivor fallacy. Like this is the person who is the best representation of what I want all of my customers to happen. And what I didn't tell you was the story of the 99 other people who bought my product, Right.
Or even just like a testimonial. You think,
exactly,
here's someone who bought the product and they love it. But if you look at why you're doing that, it's because you want them to make an erroneously bad logic decision that their result is going to have anything to do with what that person's result is. Like the idea that would be the case at all is illogical.
Yeah, but it totally works.
Exactly. Because people see that and they're like, well, it'll work for him, it'll work for me. Just that right there is a logical mistake. Yeah. But I know that, and I want you to make that logical mistake on purpose. And I'm just not one of those people that got to lie to myself about the fact that I'm manipulating people.
Right.
Like, I feel like you really get good at the persuasion stuff when you quit having like moral or egotistical judgments about just the ideas.
Yeah.
And it's so weird when you run into people that are like, I won't even talk about that. Like, really? You can't contain an idea in your head to consider it without it tainting you in some way? Like, well, what kind of mind do you have? You know? Like, we're just talking. I'm not saying you got to go out and steal from people like these con artists did. Like, I don't know. People, it's like they're scared of it, like the dark side of the force or something. Like, if I learn about it, I'm just going to go off the deep end.
Right. I'm going to become Stalin because I figured out how to do, the guru model. I'm going to become a mass murderer.
Exactly. And I mean, it does make you cynical, and it'll make you a little bit of a misanthrope once you see the strings in advertising.
Yeah. And every other person who's doing the model, you get real jaded about that.
Yeah. And the way I look at it, the way I bring it all the way back around to make it a good thing is, if you have a product or a service that really works and it really solves a problem someone has, maybe a problem that they avoid thinking about or dealing with because they don't think it can be solved. If your product really works, no one is ever going to be mad at you for tricking them into buying it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. No one's ever going to be like, man, that cream you gave me got rid of my foot fungus. Like amazing. I struggled with it for years, but I just wish you wouldn't have tried so hard to sell it to me.
Yeah, I wish you wouldn't have preyed on the hacks of my brain that like make me make bad decisions.
I feel manipulated into how happy I am with this product.
Exactly. Well, that's where I settled on it, is that it's like, to me, it's like money. Like, you can use money for good or for evil, right? Or it's like, it's like the thing itself, the art of persuasion is just a thing. Like, and how you apply it is where the morality comes in my mind. So, once you learn that, man, you can sniff it a mile away when somebody's being disingenuous with you.
Oh yeah, and plus, like, I'm sure you find this too. Like I just use it all the time. Like, I'm constantly manipulating people around me.
Yeah, my kids mostly.
In subtle ways to get people to do what I want, and like, I just don't even think about it. But A, why is that bad? Because I'm not hurting people, and B, like, why would you not use that power if you have it? Like, if you can convince random people to do what you want instead of what they want, like, that's about as close to a superpower as you can get in our world.
That's printing money, right?
Yeah. So. Or anything, like not even just money. Like, hey, can I get in front of you in line at the supermarket?
Yeah.
Literally anything. Like, I know you guys are closed, but can I still get a to-go order? Here's why.
There's that great study they did where they lined a bunch of people up in front of a copier, and they sent up the guy and to cut, and
that's an Influence by Cialdini.
Yep. Yeah, and people were like, no, I'm not gonna let you cut. And then they were like, can I cut because I need to go faster? And they're like, okay.
Yeah. Can I cut in front of you because I need to make some copies?
Yeah. And they're like, okay. As long as you give some sort of reason, people are like, oh, they give a reason. It doesn't even matter if that reason is any way, shape, or form rational. So.
Nope.
I love all of that. I remember I found the cult of copy through the job board. I was in another like group, and I was trying to find more freelancing clients, and I was talking to another freelancer, and she told me a couple of places, and she's like, you need to check out the Cult of Copy job board. And I think at the time there were like 2,000 people in there or something like that.
Right.
And of course, you can't get into the Cult of Copy job board and then like, well, what's the Cult of Copy? And then I was in. And so that was, and I remember I came in right before you had 13,000 members, because you came out with t-shirts.
That's right.
Right after 13,000. And
it's a collector's item. That's the only t-shirt we've ever done.
What do you, let's see, where are we at? 20. I remember there was one of your female members posted a picture of herself with the photo, and all the guys in your group were like, screw Colin, I want to join her group. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why, but that has always been one of my favorite posts, because there were like 300 comments on that or something like that. So
yeah. Internet marketing definitely has like the overlaps of like lonely male nerd culture.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, all the boys club, but for nerds. Yep. So like gamers, comic book nerds. But yeah, like, I've been married twice. I'm okay with the ladies. Like, you guys need to settle down.
Well, you got 27,162 members today. That's impressive.
Yeah, I missed 27. I think I celebrated when I hit 26, and then I missed crossing 27 entirely. Yeah, it grows by a lot. It's like hundreds a week, and I've recently started using the questions.
Yeah, me too.
That Facebook lets you ask.
Yeah.
So I ask, what do you do? And then I ask, like, what do you think you're going to learn inside of this group? And then I ask people to compose a haiku about walruses that does not reference the Beatles. And no one who avoids answering the walrus question is allowed in.
That's an easy way for you to just go block.
Well, right? Like the thing of it is, it's not all about growing the group as big as it is. I want people who are going to participate. And if you're the kind of person that's not delighted by the challenge of doing that you're just going to like write a haiku about a walrus immediately, or that you're going to write, like, I don't know what that is, like the same amount of letters you could have Googled haiku.
Right.
So I don't know. It just, the question started out as a way to just gauge, like, are you any fun at all? and it's worked so far, but like it's still like a huge amount of people requesting to join, and I feel like it's pretty easy filtering now using those questions. So kudos Zuckerberg for that feature, because
the groups thing has helped me a lot too. Yeah. The groups, what you're talking about is there's little things you can set up if you own a Facebook group to have some screening questions before people come in to a closed group.
Yes.
And it's 6 months old, maybe a year now.
Yeah, it hasn't been around that long.
Not that long. I have two questions. One, I ask, where did they find me? Like, I want to know where they're coming from, and that has been very surprising. Like, because I find myself being referenced in Reddit threads I didn't know exist, and
nice.
Just places all over the internet that I wouldn't have expected people to be talking about Facebook groups. But I've been surprised at how many people find my group specifically through just Facebook search. Like, they're searching for the keyword content marketing, and like, I mean, it's one of the very first things I learned from you was like, make your title something that people like when they look at the title. It's not going to be something vague or
right.
It's like it's not going to be postmodern.
You got to be able to look at it and know exactly what it's about.
Right. And so people, people find my group and they come in. Probably, I don't know, half my new people do that. And then my second question is, do you promise not to spam the group? Because my group is about content marketing, and content marketers are so desperate to like post links to their crap everywhere they can find. God. It's ridiculous. And
those people will not compose a haiku.
No, they won't.
So they won't. They don't get in. And then for the jobs group, I actually just recently added questions that basically make you explicitly agree to the rules of that group, which are pretty simple. Only post jobs, only comment in reference to that job. That's it. Super simple, but I got to lay the smack down more and more frequently as that group has grown.
Yeah.
But it's basically like, only post jobs. Do you understand? Yes or no? Only comment if you're answering the job listing. Do you understand? Yes or no? What's the other one? Complaints about anything in the group should be sent to the administrator and not posted about in the group. Do you understand? Yes or no?
Yeah.
So I get 3 yeses or like 1 yes and then 2 blanks. I'm like, well, you're not coming in.
Right, exactly. So I would love for you. So there's some things I know how you're going to answer them, but they've just been really valuable things for me over the last couple of years.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask them to you, and I know how you're going to answer. So, there are different types of members in Facebook groups and other online communities. Some of them are more active, some of them are less active. And one of the things that I think people don't think about is they're just looking at the number. Like, they're just like, how do I grow my group as big as possible?
Yeah.
And that's not the approach that I take, and I know that's not the approach that you take. Why not, and how do you get the right kind of members in your group?
The reason why not is because the value in a Facebook group for the average user is the quality of the conversations that are happening inside that group.
Mm-hmm.
And the way Facebook groups are built, it's not like a forum that records conversations. It's just a big churning mess of the hot conversations happening right now.
Right.
And then when they quit getting participated in, they drop off forever to be lost.
Yep.
I'm sure you could search them, but like no one is scrolling down the Facebook group feed much more than like 2 or 3 reloads. Maybe.
I know that because I tried to scroll to the beginning of your group one time and my computer just got overwhelmed by it and crashed.
Yeah.
There's just so much content there.
Facebook doesn't page it, so it just keeps loading more and more posts, and eventually your computer will run out of memory before you get to the 5 years distant beginning of the cult of copy.
Well, that was I don't know, a year and a half ago that I tried that too. I think it was 2 years ago actually that I tried that. So
So that being the case, what you really want in the group are people who start good posts that get conversations going, and people who leave good comments that continue that conversation and talk to each other. The reason you want that is because that is your user-generated content. That's the whole reason to have a group instead of just posting whatever you want to your blog, is that you want other people driving the content and conversations for you once they know what the group is about. Like, they continue that thread for you. So I'm not saying to do what I did, because it can be annoying to other group members. Group owners. But basically, I poached people, but I did it in the nicest way possible, where I would go into other groups that were related to what I wanted. And when somebody would post something that I really liked, that I thought would be good in my group, I would say, this is great. Can I copy and paste it and post it to my group and give you credit? Or even better, you join and post it, and then that way you get all the comments, because I know the people in my group are going to love talking about it.
Yeah.
Most.
So what you just described there is exactly how my group got to 100 members. Like,
yeah.
I did that over and over again 100 times. And what it did for me in the very beginning was, like, it got me 100 people that were talking. And that's very different than just 100 people.
Exactly. And then within that, there's people who are really good at commenting that aren't necessarily good posters. Mm-hmm. And you want those people too, because that creates the ecosystem, so that the next time the guy who posted the thing in some other group comes up with a great idea, he's going to want to post it in your group because the comments are better. He's getting what he wants out of the deal. And to encourage that, whenever somebody would come into my group as requested, I would leave like a really thorough, thoughtful comment about what they shared and why I liked it. So everybody that knew it was my group, saw me weighing in, would jump in, follow the leader style.
Yeah.
Not to say, like, I mean, there are a lot of people who are like, oh, me too, whatever Colin says. But they're like, it's the kind of thing where basically I was pointing out that for me, I thought this was quality.
Exactly.
And that made them want to check it out.
Yeah, you're reflecting some of your... So you are positioned as the leader of the group, and what you're doing is you're reflecting some of that onto somebody else, which... Yeah,
it's like deliberately lending them my halo.
Exactly. Exactly.
Giving them a little endorsement of sorts.
And then they come back a week later and do another post because they like it.
Exactly. And then you just kind of continue to encourage that through participation, which should be fun, because you're sort of like the editorial force behind what gets posted and what shouldn't be there. And then, like once you are curating a set of active quality conversations, that's what makes a group grow. Mm-hmm. That's like, the more people that come in, it'll just keep growing and growing, because people will see what's happening and like mimic it. Like, very rarely do people come into the people are like, you must have a lot of spam problems. And I don't. It's very, very rare, because most people come in and see what's happening and they step into that.
Yep.
Like, I've never had to have like a huge list of rules of what, don't post this, don't post that. I feel like when you do that, you're inviting in role-playing games, like old pen and paper games, they used to call them rules lawyers.
Yeah. And
it's the guys who have the rules memorized specifically so they can circumvent them to everyone's frustration.
Right. Because there's no such thing as a rule that captures everything that you want. Like,
exactly. So I just went with, I'm going to treat you like an adult. Like, you know what's good to post here and what's not. If I don't like it, I'll tell you. And if you do things I don't like more than once, I kick you out. Like, that's pretty much it. Because, like, I had a thing where it's like, don't spam the group. And they're like, well, it's not spam. I'm like, spam is what I say it is. It's my group.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to go to the dictionary and you're going to point out a definition. I'm going to be like, crap, I guess I have to leave that in my group.
Right.
Like we're not, this isn't a debate that you're going to win, because it's my group. That's another one I will say, if for all the hopeful audience growers, whether it's a Facebook group or not, like, people appreciate that there's a sheriff in town, kicking out the rabble, and the community likes to participate when you do the occasional, I call them the head on the wall,
head on the pike
post.
Head on the
yeah,
pike.
Exactly. So if somebody comes in and spams, you kick them out. You leave their post there and like rip them to shreds in the comment, or sometimes I'll just take a screenshot of it.
Yeah, I like the screenshot thing. If I'm
honest. Then repost that. And the point of that is that it shows everyone in the group that this doesn't belong here, and we're all in it together to make sure it shouldn't be here. And it lets everybody know that like the group is curated. I think that curated idea that there's an editorial voice in charge of what gets posted there and what isn't. And that also includes cutting out things that don't belong there.
People, and I think that's the difference between Twitter and like a Facebook group, because Twitter's like a massive like pile of trolls.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because there's nobody there to enforce a culture. You know what I mean?
You can't kick somebody off the conversation.
You can block them, but that's as good as you can do. It just isn't set up to have a civil. There's just no way to really to keep yourself from getting attacked by those people. And my favorite thing about Facebook groups over any other type of forum is just the control you have as an admin. Because if somebody's giving me crap, they're just gone. Like, I can make a spectacle of them if I want, or more often you're just gone, and everything you ever posted is gone, and nobody even knows. You know what I mean? Like, it's just you cease to become a problem for anyone or me.
Right. Like your contribution that you are insisting on is vapor.
Yeah. It's like you don't even, it's not only do you, like Facebook now, I don't know if you've noticed this, when you block somebody, you can take away all of their stuff. Like in one click, which is a beautiful thing, which means every post or comment they ever did in the group is gone. And because the Facebook group is what it is, like nobody else notices that. Like, they don't go through and check to see if Jeremy's, comment from 4 days ago is still there. So
and usually when someone violates to a degree where they gotta face the airlock into open space like that, it's usually been something that got attention. So like a thread that what I love, one of my favorite things about the community that I've built is that they get what our thing is and they enforce it without me being there. So if someone new steps out of line, someone I've never met will come in and be like, that doesn't belong here. You know, like that's not what we're about.
I've seen that. I've seen that in some of your threads where you'll come in like, and by that time it'll be like, if it blows up, it'll be like 47 comments in or something.
Right.
And your whole community is just ripping this person and like the best ones are when that person doesn't even know. Like they don't even get it. And they're like, I'm not spamming the group. What are you talking? And they're like trying to defend themselves, and they're just getting hammered with all kinds of, all kinds of stuff. And you jump in and you're like, guys, somebody's got to tag me if this is going on. Like I want in on the fun. It's not even, it's your group, and you're there's like a piranha frenzy happening over in the corner and you didn't even know it.
There's been times where I've come into the group and they've totally decimated some spammer and forced them to quit voluntarily before I even show up. And that's like the number one post at the top of the group because it's still getting active comments.
And it will for days.
But yeah, that's like the fun element. You let the group come together and blow off steam as a community. And it reinforces, again, the value and the editorial voice of the group. And then as the group grew, you mentioned the jobs group earlier, that came about because while an occasional, hey, I'm hiring copywriters post was cool, it started to be so frequent that like when you would go into the group, the top 5 posts were all job posts, which by definition are limited interest to the bulk of the group. So that's why I spun it off and created a jobs group. Like I literally didn't care about it. The only reason it existed at first was because I wanted those conversations out of my discussion group. Yeah. Because I thought it was distracting from my fun. Now that group has, I think, like 10,000 people or more.
Plus, yeah.
Yeah, and that's got a life of its own. And then I just recently, I think, probably about a year ago, I started copywriting training wheels, which is the beginner group because I got tired of people posting complete newbie questions in the main Cult of Copy group. Again, because the majority of the people there that I enjoy talking to are not going to bother answering that question anyway. But I shouldn't shut you down or kick you out. I should just make a place for you to do that and have that conversation. So I started the beginners group, and that group has thousands of people, and I literally do nothing except post old cult posts that pop up sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty good for beginners. I'll just go repost that over there.
Yeah.
and then when someone posts a beginner question in the cult group, I'll say you should ask this in the beginner group. Here's the link, and then turn off commenting. That's a cool new feature too. The fact that the admin can turn off comments on threads now. You didn't used to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Not just notifications, you can actually turn off the comments themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole commenting box goes away for the whole group, which is great because now I can kill a post. You didn't used to be able to do that without deleting it. And sometimes I want it to stay. I just don't want people to keep participating in it. So a lot of times, like very rarely, but sometimes like somebody will post something and like it'll run its course and it starts getting ugly and repetitious. And I'm like, I'm tired of this bouncing for you two people to keep going at each other. So we're done. No more comments on this. Everything that needed to be said has been said. That one's just going to slowly drift down the page now.
Yeah. I think what you're talking about is culture. Like this is the old culture beats strategy.
Yes.
Thing.
I think so.
But it's like, it's so amplified in a community like this that I think that's why it works so well. Like you as the person leading the group, you get to set the culture, and you don't have to answer to that.
Yeah,
to anyone about that.
Exactly. I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to, like it's funny when occasionally I would get in arguments with people who ended up getting kicked out, where they're trying to tell me what the group should be, and I'm like, there's a little button right there that says create group.
Yeah. They're like, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Knock yourself out, kiddo. And this one here, and I mean, I've done well to this point, just basically trusting my gut. And sometimes I'll see a thread and I'm like, should I delete this? I don't know. People are talking in it. I don't like it. It should go. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I just trust myself as a member of the group as opposed of the admin. Like, is this something I would spend my time on? That's what I used to focus it on. And
I can tell in my group when somebody in my group, it's because content marketing is so, people use, the epic blog post as the top of their funnel,
right.
Like you can just feel it when somebody comes in and posts something, and you can just tell that they're setting you up for 3 days later,
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like, buddy, like I was there before this was invented,
Yeah, exactly.
Like I know you took somebody's course and they said to do this formula, come in, post this, post that, share somebody else's thing 2 days later, and I can just see it a mile away. And
somebody will come into my group and like explain what AIDA is.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, like it's cool, but we're all professionals here.
You want me to tell you who invented that and where it came from? And
right. My favorite was just earlier in the week. I'm going to make this kid famous. Josh Mady Fernandez came into the group. I didn't kick him out, but everybody did make fun of him. But he came in and tried to teach the group one of my lessons that I've been teaching on stage and in podcasts and things for years. In
fact,
did he
not know?
He's like, you need to answer these 3 questions. Why you? Why this? Why now? I'm like, you forgot one. Here's the video from 2014 where I taught that to this group. You're repeating my own lesson back to me. If you learned that, you learned it from me, and now you're repeating it back to me.
Yeah. Which is so silly because everything that we teach is as coaches and teachers has been done by somebody else, but you gotta at least take the effort to give it a new name or something.
Yeah, the trick is you hammer it into something that's your shtick. It's like a comedian, 10 different comedians can tell the same joke, and it'll sound like 10 different jokes. If they're good comedians, they'll change it and make it their own, and little details will change. But this guy's just not only did he repeat it back in the exact same format that I created it, but he messed it up. He left a key one out, and then I don't know. It was just funny to be like, oh, what are you talking about? And then he's like, here are the questions. Why you? Why this? Why now? I'm like, it's why me? Why you? Why this? Why now? And I've been talking about that for years.
That's straight out of your. That's straight out of your sales letter template. That's what that is. Yeah. Okay. This is awesome. So I wrote down some things here before we got on. Like it says stuff I learned from Colin that helped me, and so let me read a couple of these, and I just want you to comment on them. Okay.
Oh, sure.
So you hit this a little bit, but there's this idea of posters and commenters and lurkers.
Yes. We talked about the posters and commenters. Lurkers in your group are the kind of people that are actually your best customers, typically.
Always. And here's the thing is that I never meet them until I put something up for sale. And then all of a sudden, there's these people that were engaged the whole time, and I didn't know who they were.
You meet them in the comments that they leave on a webinar.
Mm-hmm,
and then
exactly.
And then they show up multiple times. There's people that if you're a customer of mine, you know them by name because they participate in the live webinars as I record them,
mm-hmm.
but you'd never see a post by them or even comments.
But Facebook knows that they're watching every post, and so they keep feeding them posts from your group.
Exactly,
so,
exactly.
But I think what happens with people like that is that they feel like, okay, I want to learn from this guy. He's ahead of me. I'm a little nervous about code posting because I don't want to get I don't want to get creamed by a bunch of people who are way ahead of me. And so I'm just going to follow along, you know what I mean? And they're just kind of lurking in the comments. And when you put something for sale, then they're like, okay, now I get to learn the real thing, you know?
Yeah. And especially for the kind of material that I sell, and probably you find the same way, like the stuff we sell has no appeal to like the I'm going to make money this weekend crowd.
Yeah.
It's all people who are professionals doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
So my best customers don't hang out on Facebook and chit chat all day. Like it's really like, this is a generalization. It's not 100% true. So no one get offended if you hang out in my group and participate a lot, but generally it's the wannabes or the not yets, let's say, out of kindness.
Let's call them up and comers.
Yeah, because like they're not working. That's why they're in Facebook messing around all day. The people who are busy and working pop in. Is there something of value? Cool, I'll grab it. I'm out. You know, and that's why you want the commenters and the posters in there to create the material that's valuable to your lurkers, because the silent lurkers tend to be your best customers. Not 100%. It's like I didn't do a study on the statistics or anything, but it's definitely a pattern I've noticed. So I'm glad that you noticed it too. The silent audience that's watching is the real value of doing anything on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Like not necessarily the people participating, because people will say like I don't know how much you follow my actual timeline of me as a person, but I do all the things that business people are not supposed to talk about. I talk about religion,
constantly.
I talk about politics, and I'll argue with people until they quit.
Yeah, because you are a masterful. You just destroy anybody. Like recently, I've been trolling some of the stuff that you've been saying about gun control after Las Vegas, and it's just it's a beautiful thing. Like I need to take screenshots. I had a collection for a while of like screenshots of Colin taking people down on Facebook. That was just one of the best things I had, and I don't know where I put it, but it's in my file somewhere.
Nice. But, yeah, it's one of those things. First of all, that's great practice for being a persuasive writer.
Yeah, it is.
It's to argue with people. And then I always used to say when I was still writing copy, I would go start an argument. And when I would get to the point where it was so heated that I was writing a response that included bulleted points, I'm like, now I'm ready to write copy. Now I'm in the mode of breaking it down to where it needs to be sold. But the reason I brought that up is because people will say like, why do you argue with people? You're not going to change anyone's mind. And I'm like, I'm not going to change the guy who's arguing with me's mind. But there's an audience of potentially millions looking at that argument happen who haven't made up their mind. Yeah. And they're seeing me out-argue that other guy. So I'm never arguing with someone to try and change that person's mind, although that does happen occasionally. Mm-hmm. It's more about the audience. And that's the trick. Like I said, with these conversations in a group, the value is in the conversation, not necessarily the people participating in it, although they get a lot of value. It's that you're creating a great post with a great tail of comments is an asset that other people are creating for you. And that's why you want that combination of great posters and great commenters working together that way. They're creating an asset that an audience is going to look at and maybe never touch, but it's there for them to read.
Yeah, as I built my group, like the first 100, I was really focused on getting people who would be active. And after that, it's the people who came in afterwards that they didn't always participate, but like it was like I wanted the people in there to create the environment, and then after that, it was okay if people came in and they weren't active.
Yeah,
because that's eventually who became my customers. Like, so
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Also, so one of the things you told me that was super valuable was like more than you think, and this is something I found over and over and over again as I talk to people is that, as I talk to people, other people, like if I'm just talking person to person, like in person with somebody, like say at a conference or whatever, and I'll say something and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way," right? Or like I just said something that's just like I don't think of as a normal, like it's just a normal thing for me, but it's super valuable for this person I just told it to. And one of the things you had me do early on was you had me like write down like 10 of those, like just little things, like not huge things, but something that I could give somebody that would be like, here's this little thing that I do. Here's my proofreading process.
Yes.
Like here's how I interview people when I'm doing a story. Like here are the 10 questions I ask. Like just stuff that I've developed over the years that I didn't like. It just did it for me. And
you didn't even think it was a thing. It was just saving you some time.
People don't understand how much value they have, I think.
Yes. The angle I look at it from, and we talked a little bit about this when I said I always wanted to be a guru, which again is one of those things people, I don't want to be a guru. Those gurus are bad. Shut up. Everybody wants to be a guru. You know how easy it is? Literally, I don't know if I'm still good at copy because I have an audience that buys anything I put in front of them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm good.
Yeah, you don't have to A/B test A/B
people,
headlines.
Yeah, exactly. And
Nothing.
people have said like, you got this audience, but like, why don't you step outside of it and try and sell something? I'm like, why would I? Why? I'm not one of these people that got to challenge myself. I don't see a mountain and think I have to climb it. I'm like, that looks nice.
Yeah. You was like, I'll just show you my PayPal receipts from last year, and we're good. And then, it's good. It's all good.
Right. So talking about that guru, I kind of lost my thread. What was the point?
So you know more than you think. You have value to give.
Yes. So part of that guru path that I think a lot of people mess up, especially in our field where it's writers, they get confused that like if I'm going to step out and be like this expert figure that sells info products, they think their client is going to be their customer. And instead, you need to think of your competitors as your customer.
This is the next thing on the list. It says sell to your competitors. Make your competitors your customers.
Yes, because like consider me as a copywriter. I write a sales letter for a business. They pay me one time, unless I get royalties. But I used to do launches that would go away, so like royalties didn't make a whole lot of sense. So they use it once, and the value is done. But if I teach somebody how to write a sales letter and they sell that to their clients, they can use that infinity times.
Yeah, exactly.
So that same information is much more valuable to that guy. So like it's the same thing where like you can buy let's say a hammer. You can go to the hardware store and there's like 30 different kinds of hammers, ranging from like expensive ones all the way to like the cheapest one. And if you just need a hammer in your house in case, you buy the cheap one. But if you're a professional contractor, you buy a hammer that won't break and it's got a grip that won't slip in your hand. You have all these additional concerns when you're a professional. And you learn those things and you don't realize you've picked them up because you just picked them up as little rules of thumb or little lessons you learned as you went along. And it would be the kind of thing like if we lived in medieval times, that would be the whole reason you apprentice to a blacksmith if you want to be a blacksmith, is because that dude can't sit down and make a blacksmith course, but just by working with him long enough for him to do every kind of job there is, you're going to see all those little tricks that he knows that he doesn't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you package that up and it's your competitors who will find that useful. And then what I think a lot of people, when you get them to cross that hurdle, they're like, well, I'm just, like I'm working, like I'm not at the top of the mountain. I wouldn't consider myself like among the most successful. You don't have to be at the top of the mountain before you teach people how to climb the mountain. You just have to be 2 steps ahead of them.
Yeah.
And then like you would be amazed at how many people that you would think of as being on the same level as you. Like you said, if you're just like, here's how I get leads, like they're going to be all over that because they need it.
Yeah,
they want more of it, and it's going to be different than the way they do it.
Yeah, and it's okay if you learned it like last week. Like
exactly.
If it's working for you, like they're going to want to know.
Right. And it's the simplest thing in the world to just, you learn it, you use it, it works for you, turn around and teach it to everyone that you think of as a competitor.
Mm-hmm. I think
it's counterintuitive because you think like, well, then they're going to get more jobs than me. And I'm like, yeah, but then they need to buy the information on how to do the job from you.
Exactly.
So, and then eventually it's amazingly valuable to be known as the guy who teaches the guys who do the thing. Yeah. So like if you're a copywriter and you're known as a teacher of other copywriters, you're obviously better than the copywriters who learn from you. Not really. Again, that's one of those illogical decisions.
Mm-hmm. But you position yourself that way.
Right. So like if you're the guy that teaches the guys, like you're the guy, like it's automatic positioning, and literally all you have to do is, what did you do today? Did it work or not? If it didn't, what are you going to try tomorrow? Turn around and tell that to anybody who wants to listen.
It's okay if it doesn't work too, if you say that, because one of the things I try to do in my group is I try and post at least once a week or so. I try and post something that happened this week that was like from my life. And what that does is it reminds everybody that like, hey, I'm in it. Like, I'm not just a guy who read a book,
And failure, people don't realize how valuable failure is if you're talking about a journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can be an example of what not to do or what not to try.
My post from today was just about that.
Yeah, it's literally, you can't mess up when you have an audience of people who are trying to do what you're learning how to do.
Mm-hmm. As long as you're transparent and honest about it.
Yeah, exactly. And what's great about it is you tried something, it failed, then you break it down and say, here's why I think it messed up, here's what I'm going to try next time, and now they want to tune in the next time
to hear how it worked. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And you're gonna say like, it kind of worked, and here's like the refinement I'm gonna do next, and then you just keep it going.
Yeah,
just keep it
going.
It's
It's like people have this idea, like I hate the term thought leader, but as far as guruhood goes, that's a good idea of it. You want to be the person whose ideas everyone in your space wants, and people think to be a leader, like you get up in front of the podium and declare yourself the leader and start bossing people around. That's not it. You can be a leader without ever doing that if you have followers. Mm-hmm. And the way you get followers is by leaving breadcrumbs for them to follow. Eventually, without you ever declaring yourself like, I know what I'm doing and the way I do it is the best way and everyone should do it this way. You never have to say that. But if you've been leaving breadcrumbs as you learn things, all of a sudden you turn around and there's a huge trail of people following exactly what you said to do because you made it easy for them to follow, and therefore you are their leader. You get unexpected benefits from that too. You can use that to sell stuff, like you can use that to sell products. But just yesterday, for example, I had a guy from my group who, content writer, had a like he knows that I work for a software company. Like he knows, not only does he know what I do, he knows like the niche that I work in, like he knows down to the detail of exactly the kind of client I look for. And he sent me a note on Facebook. He's like, hey, I gotta like move on to another client, and I'm trying to replace myself with this client. Do you want it? Like, do you want this client? Like, I can refer you. And he referred me in the intro email was like, hey, this is Nathan. You guys should connect. He's one of the very few people that I like actually trust for advice on content marketing. I've even bought one of his products. It's like, and I'm going to go in and like, do you know how unbelievably well positioned I am? Like, I can charge whatever I want now. You know what exactly. I mean? So you can triple your prices that way. Like you can, even if you're not selling products, like to position yourself as the leader, as the person who's the teacher, like you become so much more valuable in every aspect. Yes. That's why I say Like anybody who's like, oh, those gurus are bad. Like, you wish you were one.
That's what people. That's what people who say when they haven't done the work to build an audience.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, last one. Last one.
Let's do it.
Sell more things to more people more often.
Yes, that's it.
The secret of your success.
Yes, that's it. Like literally, if I wanted to make some more money today, I would post a link to a buy button, and I would make more money today.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess in relation to that is put up your sales button before you make the thing, and then people will pay you to make the thing.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful thing.
It's counterintuitive, I know. We were talking about this, I think, before you turned on the recorded portion of our conversation. But when you built up this audience, like we're talking about, people paying attention to you, don't think of it like you got to make an info product and package it up and get all the recordings and put them on a membership site.
3 months doing it.
Yeah. What you say is, hey guys, here's something useful I learned. Write like 5 bullets about it and pitch it with a buy link. And the buy link leads to like a webinar registration. Say, we'll do a live training in a week. Here's what we're going to cover. Here's where you buy it. And then when those people show up, you show up and you teach it to them. I actually literally would write the pitch first and then take the pitch and copy and paste that into the mind map to start creating the training after people bought it.
Yeah.
Because then I'm literally delivering exactly what I told you were going to get.
Yeah.
And what works so well with that is it's immediate. It's the fastest way to develop that content and turn it into a product. As you mentioned, you get paid up front before it even exists. And here's the best part. If no one buys it, just delete the post and nothing, like no work wasted.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. Nobody knows and you didn't waste a second of work. Yeah. Because like the way I did it, if you want to make sure that it works well for you, this is another reason to sell to competitors and not just beginners, is because you can charge high enough prices to where you can bill for your time. Think of it as billing for your time. So if you were trying to create a huge product from scratch, you might think, oh, we got to sell 10 grand worth of these to make it have been worthwhile. If you do it this way, you think, well, I'm going to talk for an hour. I charge $250 to talk for an hour on the phone. So if I charge $100, if I sell 3, I'm in the green, $50. So only 3 people have to buy this thing for me to have been paid to show up and do it. And when I'm done doing it, I have a recording that's an asset that I can sell as a product over and over again.
Yeah, and that's just from your effort right off the bat before you even make the thing. That was I remember the first time I did this, I was scared to death, but I did it anyway, and I think I made like $300 in the pre-sale. Nice. My group was like, I don't know, 400 people at the time. Like you don't have to wait until you have 17,000 people in a group. I think I made like $350, and I was like, I remember staring at my PayPal at the $350, going, I haven't done a thing. Like I haven't done. I spent 10 minutes writing a post about what I was gonna do. Yeah, and then
you got that much money to show up and do whatever you want.
And I put that product on sale many times since, and it's made me a lot more than that. And I haven't done a thing more with it.
And what I did, like I mentioned, I just, again, this was a conversation we had before you turned on the recording, I think, but I did, I guess, maybe about a dozen of those courses where I taught my own stuff. And by that time, I had run out of things to say. And then I started, like, people came to me and said, hey, can I do a training for your group? Yeah. Just like that. And I'm like, sure, I'll come in and show up and say hello to everyone and push the record button. We'll split it. So I get paid half for doing nothing. And then I get the recording to sell over and over again. So we did a few of those, and I ended up having like 20 products in my catalog. And just like, I think in August is when I first did it. I dumped all of those into a Kajabi membership, and everything is accessible for one price. So whatever you would pay formerly for one course from me, now you can pay that same amount and have a month's worth of access to every course. And then if you just want to stay a member, you can. Because I mentioned I always wanted to do the guru thing, the goal was always in my mind, because I was writing these launch packages for like $2,000 products. I'm like, I need to have one like that. I'm not going to sit there and create it from scratch. What if I get people to pay me to create each module one by one? And that's what each of my individual trainings are. And it just so happened, instead of doing it and launching it for a single price, I just put them all in there, and you can have monthly. You can pay me for lifetime access if you want, or you can pay month by month. But that's now, like, I've finally hit the end of that progression. Now I have my big, expensive flagship product. That's everything I know that you can get full access to, and that's all I sell. I have one product now instead of 20, and that's like the next evolution of it. Is now I have, now I'm an expert. I have my super expensive mega course. I have my giant audience, and we just sell that over and over.
Yeah, and so that's about what, five years of hanging out on Facebook.
That's right. In fact, this September was the 5th year anniversary of starting the Cult of Copy.
That's amazing. And, people say like, oh man, that's so much work. Like, do you hang out on Facebook normally? Like,
yeah,
it's the same thing. It's not that hard.
It's like I think I might be saying it wrong, but there's that saying that you overestimate what you can get done in a day.
Oh yeah.
And underestimate what you can get done in a year. Like, when I made my 5-year plan, when I quit my last job and went freelance, that was the goal. Is like, within 5 years, I want to have all of this together. And it took me longer, only because I didn't take the last step of bundling all of my courses together. I just kept releasing new ones instead of doing the last step. But people were like, wow, you had a 5-year plan? I can't imagine how much thought you had to put into that. I'm like, it was literally one sentence for each year. I took it real easy on myself.
Do you still do coaching? Do you still do?
It's not a thing where like I offer it and take all comers. It has to be like there are people I work with in a mentor type capacity.
Yeah.
But the thing that I did that you bought into, I don't do big public offer of that anymore.
Okay.
Just because
you get overwhelmed by it.
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't have to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like, I've gotten to the point where I no longer can surprise myself with how little I actually want to work. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like
I love it. I love it. You're on year 5. I'm on year 2, and I'm tracking along. I think I did the same thing. I wrote down the 5 years, and I'm right where I want to be 5 years along. Like, I'm going to freelance, and that's going to be my income, and over time I'm going to replace myself. And that's how it's going to work. And it's going. I remember when I got into your coaching program, they were like, I didn't realize it at the time, but I think I had 80% of it.
Yeah.
And I got the other 20% that I needed to just go. And I think 10% of that was just somebody like you validating, like, yeah, you should start a group and like do a thing. Like, you got something here that needs to be done. And I don't know, maybe that's what a good coach is just validating that.
It's someone in a position of authority to give you permission.
Yeah.
And
maybe that was it.
Well, what's funny is like, if you've done coaching yourself, you might find this to be true.
Yeah.
What gives that person the authority to give you permission that you'll believe is how much money you paid them. That's true.
You can't do free coaching. Yeah. It just doesn't.
No.
It robs you of the authority.
A lot of times what people really want is someone who they trust enough to be able to validate their idea because they've been there and done that. And then the fact that they pay you that much is what in their mind is like, well, this guy's legit. Look how much money he makes. Like,
look up the studies on wine and pricing. You'll understand.
Yeah, exactly.
The more you pay for wine, the better it tastes.
Exactly. Well, I'll say if all of my coaching students were like you, I would still be doing coaching. Cause
I recall the thing you said is that all you have to do is do what I say, and it'll work. And the people who don't do what you say, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I can validate that. I think that my experience, I mean, it's been almost almost exactly 2 years since I signed up. And I remember when I first signed up, I was still working in my corporate job, and I would drive from my office to the park, which was like a 5-minute drive on my lunch break. And I would sit in the summer heat in my car and talk to you about Facebook groups. And I never told you that that's what I was doing, but I was sitting there in my work clothes.
That's awesome.
Because I just thought I just felt like, man, I have something here that I have to do. Like I had to do it. You know what I mean? Like I just had to see where it would go. And I remember the first time I got into your group, I was like, man, I've never seen anybody build a group and sell it. Like you were doing everything right from your group. Like you were doing client stuff and I've never seen a whole business model run straight from a Facebook group, but I thought I can do this.
Well, that's great, man. In whatever way I contributed, and from my end, that contribution seems incredibly small. I'll say that.
Well, it was. I guess when you buy the thing this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, right? When you buy the thing that you need, like it gives you it. Yeah, I mean, I was manipulated by your stuff. Of course, I was. It was sales stuff. Like, but it was what I needed. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I probably what I'm sounding like now is how it should sound if you're doing your job right. So, right.
Well, I appreciate the testimonial plug at the end. Maybe if someone wants to like beg me to coach,
it was more of a mentorship. You were clear about like, I'm not your coach. I'm your mentor. Yeah. You can ask me questions. I will answer them, but I'm not.
See that right there is copywriting. If for those who want a quick copywriting lesson, I specifically didn't call myself a coach because I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to say, hey, here's your goals. How you doing on them? I'm a mentor, which means you can call me and ask me anything you want and I'll answer you. Yeah. But I'm not a coach. And what was the other one? I do advising, not consulting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Advising means I tell you what to do and it's up to you whether you do it or not. Consulting, that like I might have to do some work if I'm consulting. So I do advising and I do mentoring, and that works for me.
That's awesome. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate your time. This has been awesome. Clearly, I'm a walking example of what can be done if you listen to a good advisor, right?
Awesome. Well, listen, like I said, if I had all of my mentees were as easy to work with as you, and also as quick to be like, nah, we're good. I'll call you if I need you.
Yeah. So for listeners, I signed up for a year-long training with Colin, and I used 2.5 months of it before I was like, I don't know what to ask you. Like everything that you told me is working. I'm just going to go do it for a while and I'll come back to you if I have questions. And I didn't have very many.
Yeah. So basically like my end of the arrangement was over after less than a quarter of it was delivered.
Yeah. I quit my job within 6 weeks and I was off. I mean, that was
amazing.
What I so
yeah, you're the poster child of, just do exactly what I said and it'll work just like it worked for me. Cause like looking at my own work ethic, anybody that wants to do what I did, it's going to be really, really difficult for you to like work less. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I don't do a lot. Like today, this phone call right now, that's like my day. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing today. And I'm going to finish this call and I'm in my office. I'm going to walk over there and play Super Nintendo games until it's time to go home after I hang up.
That's amazing.
And all it takes is a little bit. Like I did my little Facebook post stuff this morning before after I got the kids to school and before I left the house. And that's it. That little bit built up over time is how you get from there to here in 5 years. So like when I'm telling people to here's exactly what I did and you should do it. And they're like, will it work for me? I'm like, it'll probably work even better for you if you want to work.
Yeah.
Because that's always what held me back is like zero ambition and zero motivation. But I'm willing to do that little bit every day. That little bit every day is more than enough in my experience.
Do something every day for 5 years and I guarantee, and I challenge you not to at least find some sort of success.
Yes. If you do something every day for 5 years and you're not better at it, like there's something
Something's
seriously
wrong.
something seriously wrong with you. See a doctor. See a
Yes,
doctor
very
about
much.
that.
Well, hey, where can people find the Cult of Copy today?
Cultofcopy.com leads to a blog that I haven't updated since May. So, like, it's there. There's stuff there you can read if you want to. The Facebook group is called The Cult of Copy. You should be able to search it and find it there. As I said, you must answer the Walrus Haiku question if you want to get in. You must. And then any of the other groups we mentioned are linked to from the Cult of Copy group. So Copywriting Training Wheels is for beginners. The Cult of Copy job board is for people looking for work. And then I also have the Copy Coliseum, which is if you've written some copy and want other copywriters to tear it apart and help you make it better.
And they will tear it apart.
They will. They're mean. They're mean, but that's what you want.
And
you
then
want honesty.
Your products can all be found in the Cult of Copy, right?
Yes, there's a pinned post at the top of the group where all of them can be linked to individually. And if anyone wants that super secret membership I talked about where they're all together in one package, just message me. It's not. I put it all together and sold it to all my existing members 3 months ago, and I still haven't put together the pitch for people to buy it. So if you want to buy link, you have to ask me for it, even though there's over 100 people in it right now already.
Cool.
That in fact, we talked about selling things before they exist. When I started the membership, I added the first course into it and then sold it to my members and said, you'll get a cheaper monthly price than what it'll be when we release it publicly. The only thing is you got to be aware that I'm still adding everything in.
Yeah, I watched you do that. And it was most people would be like, oh, I have these 20 courses. I got to get them into the course. I got to write a sales page. And you're I got one, but I'm loading them. If you want to get in now, you can watch that one here.
Yeah, so all I did, I like we talked about, a little bit of work each day. Every morning I would get up, I would load one new course, and then I would write a pitch to get people in, and then I was done for the day. And I would do that every day, and I did that. It took most of the month to get all of the courses in. And by the end of it, I have what looks like a membership that was launched, making 5 figures a month, but it was never launched. I just sold it to people who already buy things from me.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. If there could be, there's no book that I've ever read that describes a simpler business model than that.
Awesome.
So very cool.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
You can quote me on whatever, Colin.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Well, it's great talking to you, Nathan. Thanks for having me, and thanks to your listeners. Feel free to reach out to me if you need anything that you think I can help with.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Content Marketing Lounge. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit contentmarketinglounge.com or on facebook.com/groups/Content Marketing Lounge. We'll catch you next time.